All right, right now we're here with one of our Jamaican icons right now, especially as it relates to dance, theatre and all of this, Dr. Lanternet Stines.
Yes, that's my name.
How did the Lanternet come about?
Well, as a young girl, people used to mess up my first name.
Which is?
Lenora.
Beautiful.
And so on Broadway, I didn't want to go with the middle name alone. I wanted to keep the L.
Okay.
So I just put the L and the Antoinette and it became Lantoinette.
You see your eye, if you just casually mention on Broadway. Hey, tell us about that. I mean, for those who are not familiar with Dr. Stines, give us a brief history.
My main basic training in dance started here in Jamaica with a woman named Alma Mokier.
Wow.
Who was also in media. And then I went off to New York and I worked with a director called Vinette Carroll in plays like Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope and Arms Too Short to Box With God that ended up on Broadway. And then I also went and trained with Alvin Ailey Company, and I did quite a lot in New York. But at one point I started a company. I was always meant to have a company in New York. It was called Caribbean Dance Company. I was very creative. And it was in college, Queens College.
Well, it says what it needs to say.
All right. And we ended up touring the universities in that area. We became famous-ish.
Wasn't creative, but very industrious.
Yes. And then now I started to live in Florida, and the company continued in Florida. And then I came home. My husband got very ill. My husband died very young at age 32.
And you've been here consistently since?
And you know, one of my hardest things is to stick to things. And I made a rule. This is what I will stick to. And so I developed La Cadco, a united Caribbean dance hall. La Cadco is not a performance, you know. It's an experience. It's an explosive experience. You know, sometimes you look at your glass and you say, oh, I don't have enough water, it is half empty. When you should have looked at the glass and say it's half full. I hope that when you leave the theater, you feel alive, you feel vibrant, you feel grateful. And I think we all should be grateful after COVID to be here.
Speaking of COVID, how was the theatre world affected by COVID? Because I mean, I'm sure most of your theatres were shut down during that time.
No, all. Not most. All. There was nothing. I was very fortunate that my dance studio is open air. So my dancers who are athletes ended up figuring out a way to have classes, even if it's half today and half tomorrow. And they went as far as measure the studio as to where I must sit and where they begin. They were very creative, but they were not going to, because the body is an instrument, you know. And if a runner don't run for 2-3 weeks, I mean problem. We continue, we found methods.
Yeah.
We tried the online classing, it never worked. Because you can't do certain things on your veranda and in your living room. So we came back to the studio. But now we are happy to say the theaters are open and dance is back.
What's the name of the production?
It's called Kunga. La Cadco, a united Caribbean dance force, presents Kunga.
And this is an annual event?
No. A lot of dance companies do this event annually. I do it every 2 years.
Every 2 years, oh,
what
so
I do,
biannually.
after this performance, we go on tour to Spain and France.
Okay.
And we carry Kunga on tour.
Okay.
And then we do other performances until, I mean, because there's a lot to buy the costumes and everything. So we do it for 1 year straight and then, not for 2 years. But I said 2 years, this year and next year.
Yeah.
And then we come, because we are expected to come up with fantastic ideas, you know. I have brought dancers from down in the roof.
Wow.
I have done dancers from underneath the stage. I did a piece once that you could only see half the dancers. And that little boy in the audience said, oh, mommy, them chop off them top. Those things are special to me because I want all your senses. If you cry in the audience, it's okay. You must laugh. You must, everything must get touched before you leave the stage.
And lastly, now, Dr. Stines, I want you to tell us what's the most intense thing about Kunga for you?
Kunga, when I heard the word Kunga and I got the explanation and did the research, I thought of my mother. Because Kunga lets you know there's nothing called there. That's why people say they transition. Kunga lets you know that your loved one took a trip, went on a journey, and it made me not so sad about my mother. And it represents another thing, love.
Love.
And that is the main thing in this. It represents love. I think the one thing that can heal this earth is love, you know. If you love the ocean, and the ocean is in this production, you wouldn't throw bottles into the ocean.
True.
You wouldn't mess up the ocean. If you love that river, everybody say, I love the river, you know, I go to the river and I love the river. And then when them leave garbage beside the riverbed and they mess up the river. Why would you? If you love yourself, you would never think of committing suicide. Because you would know that this little finger is a part of God. And so if you hurt you, you're hurting God. If you love yourself, so many things would not happen. You have to love what God gives you. We're sitting down here in this beautiful country, Jamaica. We don't have on no winter clothes. We can walk barefooted. The air not so bad. We should have give thanks with pretty flowers around us.
That's a grand.
That is love.
And I'm sure we're all gonna love Kunga.